holding in my hands a book I just finished this morning, and instead of waiting to talk about it in my usual monthly reading wrap-up, I want to talk about it today because I think you should really know about this book. Hello amazing humans on the net. Today I want to give a special spotlight to a book I've just finished, and that book is Hetty, Dorval by Ethel Wilson. Ethel Wilson was a Canadian writer, and I will talk about her in a second, but can we just take a minute to appreciate this particular edition of the book? This book was published by Persephone Books, which is a unique publishing house based here in the UK. And what they do, they reprint mostly female writers dating from about mid-19th century, and they focus on books, both fiction and non-fiction, that maybe have been forgotten a bit or neglected. Really great concept. I think if you are lucky enough to be based in London, they also have a monthly book club where they meet in person and anyone is welcome to join. Please do double check that, but I think I have seen that information somewhere. They have over 150 titles in their collection, and all of their books, you can easily tell that they are Persephone books because they are all printed in this beautiful grey edition. This was my first experience with a book from this collection, and I really enjoyed reading it. There's also a great afterword in this book. I'm not sure if that's the case for every single book in this collection, but I would be surprised if it wasn't. So who was Ethel Wilson? She was born in 1888 in South Africa to two English missionaries, and she did move around a little bit when she was a child, because when she was 2 her mother died. She then moved to England with her father, but 5 years later her father also died, and so then she moved to British Columbia in Canada, where she pretty much lived all her life, because that's where her maternal grandmother was based, and that's whom she lived with when she first moved there. So she is very much considered a Canadian writer. I, for example, never heard of Ethel Wilson, so I was very interested to read about her life. And so she specialized in the format of novellas. This book I'm holding in my hands is also a novella. It was published in 1997. The book is titled Hetty Dorval because that is the title character in this novel. So who is Hetty? Hetty is this mysterious, very beautiful young woman who suddenly arrives in British Columbia in the countryside, and she leads this fairly isolated life. She is not crazy about making new friendships in this village where she's arrived. She even cuts short a conversation with a local vicar or priest who visited her shortly after her arrival, and that of course wasn't a very acceptable thing to do, but she very openly said she's not religious. So in comparison to the rest of her environment, she is very different. She is this stark contrast, and people are talking about her. They're talking about her because they're intrigued and they don't know much about her, so they are left guessing. So that's the title character. However, even though Hetty is the title character, this book is not really about Hetty. The book is told from a perspective of a young girl. I think we start with her being 12 years old, but the book ends with her being 16 or 17 years old. That girl is called Frankie. She lives with her 2 parents on a ranch, and one day, because Frankie is very much used to traveling on her own with her horse, she by accident meets this beautiful and enigmatic Hetty Dorval. They befriend each other, and Frankie starts spending more and more time with Hetty. But soon Frankie learns that Hetty is not all that she seems. And actually there is a great little description in the afterword in the book, which is not going to spoil anything, I promise. But this is how Hetty Dorval is described. She has the charm of the self-absorbed narcissist who inspires admiration but is never touched by it. A fascination endearing in a baby baby or a house cat, but frightening in an adult human. This, I think, is a spot-on indication on what sort of character Hetty is. But like I said, the book is not about Hetty, it's about Frankie, because as Frankie learns about Hetty and who she really is, she faces these different challenges on what to do with that information and how to take responsibility for her own life. So it is really a sort of a coming of age story. This is a story of a 13-year-old girl growing into this mature and confident woman, and Hetty's presence plays a key part because that presence keeps reappearing throughout the next few years in Frankie's life, and because of it, without going into too much detail, Frankie needs to make independent decisions without anyone's help, and she also needs to take action. And this is all very new for her because obviously for many years she was sheltered by these two loving parents. And the way Frankie faces these challenges is presented in a very satisfying to us as a reader kind of way. There are some gorgeous descriptions in here of nature, and that nature also serves as a bit of a metaphor about the predatory side of the nature, because we have one character here who, just like any animal, plant, any living thing, cares first and foremost only about their own survival. I loved this book because this is that type of very subtle, very quiet book with nothing pretentious about it, and from the very first page you have this sense that you're in good hands, because there is this quiet underlining feeling that this book has a very specific direction and very specific destination designed for this story, so you can just relax and enjoy reading it. The writing in here is quite straightforward. Like I said, there's nothing pretentious about this book. And because of it, not only this book would be great for someone who wants to get into classics, but I think this book is great for teenage girls because it contains some great messages about trusting your parents and generally trusting those who love you, and also, more importantly, trusting yourself and your own judgments. So yes, I think this is the sort of book that we should see more of on the shelves in bookstores where you've got teenage literature. I really enjoy this story, especially I think because recently I have read a couple of very dramatic classics. Don't get me wrong, this is not boring at all, and in fact there is a bit of a, not a twist, but a bit of a surprise at the end of the story. And also I love the ending, specifically the very last couple of sentences. If you read this book, you will know what I'm talking about. I'm really surprised that this book is not talked about more. So here I am, spreading the good word. And in fact, I'm just in the middle of another classic by a very well-known author, but a not well-known book. And what I think I might do is start a bit of a mini-series where I talk about all these lesser-known classics, and I do separate episodes dedicated just for them, which will be a little bit shorter. But hopefully in this way, these wonderful books will get a little bit more attention. I hope you enjoyed this video. I post videos at minimum every Friday. If you like this content, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon.